Ian Pryor. He is the former spokesman at the Department of Justice, title of Deputy Director of Public Affairs, former Communications Director for American Crossroads. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What is your biggest takeaway from what we know right now?
Well, I don't think it can be said enough, right? I mean, Bob Mueller, the former head of the FBI, led a 2-year investigation with a staff of mostly Democrats and came back without charging any American with conspiring with Russia to interfere with our elections or any American to obstruct justice. So I think the upshot here is this is a great day for the president. Perhaps more importantly, it's a great day for Americans. Not such a good day for the anti-Trump cartel who thought that Bob Mueller was going to be the Trump slayer.
So, Ian, looking at moving forward here, there has been a massive distrust based on this investigation, looking at how the FBI behaved leading up to this investigation, the potential FISA abuse that we've seen with reporting from Catherine Herridge yesterday, with the DOJ being concerned about biased sources driving FISA warrant applications. How does Bill Barr, the Attorney General, move forward and reestablishing trust inside of the Justice Department with the American people, as Democrats say they may be covering things up by not releasing all of the report, and by a number of people being very concerned about reforms that are necessary so this doesn't happen again?
Well, I think that's something that's going to be very important to Barr. I think this is a good first step. I thought also yesterday there was a report that the Inspector General is continuing to investigate the FISA issue. And as we know from the Clinton investigation with the Inspector General, sometimes that takes time. So I think they will wait on that. I don't know when that will come out, but when that does, then they will start making decisions. And, there could very well be criminal referrals after the Inspector General report. We don't know.
Ian, we've spent the better part of the first 2 years of the Trump presidency talking about this. We now have the report. We'll learn what's in it shortly. What should the American people take away from what's been done in our institutions in this investigation over the last 2 years?
Well, I think that they can be confident that this Department of Justice is not going to do things like the Obama Department of Justice did. From the beginning, this investigation, clearly with Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and Andy McCabe, very suspect, obviously, to say the least. But once it got into this Department of Justice, with Rosenstein exercising oversight over Mueller, clearly they ran this investigation fairly. They were not out to get the president. They were out to do what was right. And now what we have, I think, is a political gift for the president, because you have all these Democrats for 2 years that have been talking about how the president was an agent of Russia, how the president was obstructing justice, how the president was going to shut down the Mueller investigation. Guess what? That's all BS. And this investigation showed that. And the report, well, I don't think it's going to be the roadmap to impeachment that Democrats think it's going to be. I think it's going to be far more sparse than that. I think this is a good day, like I said, for the president, a better day for the United States of America.
And you make a number of important points. We heard from Democrat after Democrat, we must pass a bill, the Protect Bob Mueller Act, because this president's going to fire him. Never, ever happened. Allow this investigation to come to a completion, as you say. But you also invoke the name of Andy McCabe. So let's hear from McCabe and others who have been pushing this anti-Trump narrative, and we'll talk on the other side.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation. And I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
More and more, I come to the conclusion that after the Helsinki performance and since, that I really do wonder whether the Russians have something on him.
I use the term that this is nothing short of treasonous because it is a betrayal of the nation. He is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
You gave them the benefit of the doubt by saying maybe they weren't out to get him. They did a fair investigation. What if they were out to get him, which it looks like, and they still didn't find anything?
Well, when I said Rosenstein and Mueller weren't out to get them, as far as McCabe, Page, Strzok, I mean, clearly they made decisions, and then they tried to fill in those decisions with facts that didn't exist. And that's ultimately the real issue here. I mean, you had John Brennan, who was the former head of the CIA, just a few weeks ago, saying that there were going to be surprise indictments. Well, if you go back to the Russian indictments from February and July of last year, it said no Americans willingly participated in any kind of conspiracy, or that there was no evidence of that. It's kind of amazing that the former head of the CIA couldn't figure that out by going back and reading those indictments.
So, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein is now staying on longer at the Department of Justice. There was some controversy with him throughout this process. The allegations that he mentioned the 25th Amendment, that was, of course, made by Andrew McCabe, who has been referred to the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C. for criminal investigation over lying. Do you think Rod Rosenstein is going to have to explain further his comments about the 25th Amendment in this instance?
You know, I don't know. It depends on if he gets called to testify in front of Congress. I know that he's had conversations with the president. The president has made statements about those conversations. One thing with McCabe, I think a few weeks ago, he went on one show, he said one thing, then he had to come back the next day and say, well, wait a minute. These weren't multiple conversations, as I said 2 nights ago. It was really just in passing, which is pretty much what Rosenstein said. So I think when it comes to Andy McCabe, pretty much everything he says you have to take with a grain of salt.
Well, Ian Pryor, former spokesman at the Justice Department, we appreciate your insight.
Well said.
Really breaking it down extremely well this morning. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.